I get tax deductions because I give a lot to charity and I have a retirement account, which lets me defer some taxes. The less I have to pay to politicians, the better. Of course, taking deductions makes my taxes more complex. And so I waste money on an accountant and I have to do more record keeping. Yaron Brook of the Ayn Rand Institute says we should focus on another reason why those tax deductions are not a good thing. They are a way government manipulates people. What do you mean?
Well, government's role is to protect our values. What the tax code is doing is trying to choose our values for us. It's telling us charity is good. Maybe it is.
Protect our values? I thought government's role is to protect our persons and property,
yes,
keep us safe.
Not trying to steer us in the direction of particular goals, particular ideas. So, you know, they decide I need a solar panel, so they're going to give me a tax credit for solar. They want me to buy a house, so they're going to give me a tax deduction on a mortgage. But if I pay cash, I don't get any benefit because somehow they want me to take on debt.
Well, most people don't pay cash for a house, and they've decided, hey, if people own their houses, they'll take care of them, they'll build communities. That's better for America.
Maybe that's true. None of the government's business. The point is, it's not the government's business to dictate my behavior. As long as they're not hurting other people.
They're dictating, they're encouraging.
Encouraging, but it's encouraging by use of coercion, right? If I don't do what they tell me, buy a house, they steal more of my money. They take more of my money. So there's a gun behind this encouragement.
And a carrot on the other end. Look at this disgusting commercial from the real estate lobby.
Honey, there's $8,000 in here.
The National Association of Realtors wants you to take advantage of the $8,000 first-time homebuyer tax credit.
It's just so brazen, Uncle Sam winking.
Well, then this is who benefits from this. There's a pressure group behind each one of these deductions that are benefiting directly from
Mortgage
them.
Bankers Association, the Association of Home Builders, Association of Realtors.
They benefit because home prices go up, and there are more and more and more of these deductions because there are more and more of these pressure groups that get formed just for the purpose of getting these tax deductions.
All right, take my biggest deductions. A pension. Government decided we want to encourage people to save for the future, then maybe we won't have to take care of them. I get to defer some taxes.
It's the maybe we don't get to take care of them, which I find funny, because they don't ever shrink that. That's never shrunk. But whether I save or not at any given point in my life should be my decision, free of government coercion, free of government involvement. Yeah, absolutely, saving for retirement's a good thing. Everybody should do it. I don't need government to give me an incentive to do that. I want much lower taxes, then I'll have a lot more money to save.
You say you don't need this incentive, but I think a lot of Americans say, what is government for except to steer people to better activities for the good of the whole country?
This is how we lose our freedoms. When government starts steering people in the direction of what they should eat, what they should consume, what they can and cannot buy, what investments they can and cannot make, what's a good retirement, a bad retirement plan, these are exactly the kind of freedoms that we're losing in America every single day as paternalistic government now starts managing our lives and manipulating our behavior.
All right, take charity then. I don't see how I lose freedom. I freely choose which charities I give to, and every buck I give to Central Park Conservancy is 50 cents less than I give to Uncle Sam.
Absolutely. Given the tax code, go crazy with it. But as you know, I'm less charitable than you, and therefore I'm paying more taxes than you. Why? Why is charity, why is the fact that you're more charitable, change this? What I'd like to see is both of us.
Charity's good.
Well, who says? Right?
Now, we should explain when he says, as I know he's less charitable, the Ayn Rand Institute. And Ayn Rand said,
I'm not against charity. Ayn Rand's not against charity. It's just how important it is that we might disagree. But the point is, again, government has no role here. You want to give it to charity? Great. I want to invest it rather than give it to charity? Good for me. It's not government's job to decide if I should start a business right now or if I should give the money to charity. There are lots of things that might postpone whether I give to charity or might postpone whether I want to save for retirement. I might be investing right now in a business that's more important. And that doesn't get the same tax treatment.
Wasteful, though, as these specific deductions are, any politician who challenges them hurts himself politically. During the last presidential election, Mitt Romney suggested tax deductions for wind power were excessive, and they are. But then wind power advocates ran this commercial.
Until a few weeks ago, I had a job building wind turbines. I got laid off because Mitt Romney and his friends in Congress want to eliminate tax credits for the wind industry.
He wants to take this guy's job away.
Yeah, but what you don't see, of course, is the jobs that are not created elsewhere, because investment is flowing into a ridiculous industry like wind power that really is so economically inefficient that makes absolutely no sense, rather than into industries that make profits, that can grow, that actually create lots more employment than the wind farm ever will. This is the problem, again, with the government trying to micromanage the economy, micromanage our lives. They're lousy at it. They can't do it because they can't replace the value choices that each one of us makes for ourselves. Only we can do that, and we need to be left free to do it.
But given that they'll run ads like that, can you blame politicians for chickening out?
Well, you have to blame politicians. We don't elect them to chicken out. But no, I mean, this is the way the system is built. The system is built to perpetuate this and to expand it. You're going to see more.
Psst, want a beer? You must pay extra for it because, in addition to sales tax, states impose a sin tax on products like this. When I bought this bottle of whiskey, I had to pay an additional $2 beyond sales tax for the sin of Jack Daniels. And if you smoke cigarettes, you must be really sinful because this carton costs almost $60 more because politicians tax you to save you from yourself. And what's wrong with that? Don't we want government to discourage destructive behaviors? No, says Reason TV's Nick Gillespie. Well, why not?
You know, if I want to hear about sin, I'll go to church or an Anthony Weiner press conference. When I turn to politicians, what I want is fair laws that apply equally to all people and all products.
Well, who cares what you want? The wise politicians have decided it's better for the country if we're not all drunk or smoking cigarettes, and probably is.
There is a case to be said that cigarettes impose costs or externalities on people in terms of health care when people get sick and have emphysema, and we take care of them. So you can say, yeah, there should be a tax on that to cover those types of clearly identifiable linked health conditions that get pushed onto other people. But that isn't, you know, when New York City charges $5 in sin taxes for a pack of cigarettes or Chicago $6, they're going far beyond that. And this is what's odd about sin taxes. They're supposed to be high to discourage consumption of a good, but then they also are used to raise revenue that gets spent on all sorts of things.
And I notice as fewer people smoke, the politicians are more eager to.
Well, that's because people who are fat, people who are smokers, you know, they're minority groups essentially, and they can be demonized, and then you can start, you know, ratcheting up the costs that they have to pay for the things they want.
But the tax has a cost, too, in that it encourages people to cheat, go to the black market. One study found that most of the cigarettes sold in New York State were sold illegally, smuggled in.
It was like 57% of cigarettes used in New York State were brought in illegally or, you know, in an unauthorized way. And that's because New York has very high cigarette taxes.
So we have a new form of organized crime.
That's right, or a lifeline for the old form of organized crime, because this has long been, I mean, going back hundreds of years in America, getting around excise taxes and sin taxes on things like cigarettes, you know, smokes and booze, basically.
I think most Americans like the idea of our elected officials manipulating us in a good way. And for a while, we had luxury taxes, another form of sin tax. We had a tax on private planes and on cars valued over $30,000, boats over $100,000. That seems fair. Rich luxury. Make them pay.
You know, this nothing underscores more clearly how sin taxes are often symbolic gestures. Those types of taxes become big luxury taxes during recessions, and you're looking to scapegoat somebody. And this happened in, I guess, the early '90s, where people were like, okay, let's go after luxury yachts. You know, it's Thurston Howell III and these billionaires, you know, who have yachts. Let's screw them by taxing them on that. What that does is it reduces the the demand for yachts, and the people who make yachts are not billionaires, and you had lots of people thrown out of business. Same thing happened with the RVs.
And they lobbied and repealed it within 3 years.
So, so that's kind of good. But this impulse to say certain things are sinful and wrong in colonial America, you could be taxed heavily for dressing above your station if you wore fancy, if you wore fancy ribbons.
Leather?
Leather boots were, if they were extravagant, they were taxed heavily. This is, I'm about to say that's not what America is about. It's in fact, it's true. Yeah, it was what America was about. But we live in a secular society. We don't even have an official category of sin in the political arena, other than what politicians do on a daily basis. So let's, tax politicians, tax the laws, put a tax on new laws, but leave the candy bars alone.
But we revere the founders, and when George Washington was president, they passed a tax on whiskey. Alexander Hamilton said, when people drink too much, they often do things they regret, and we got our first whiskey tax.
And, that is one of the very few things I think that everybody will agree. Alexander Hamilton was certainly right. Drunkenness often leads to bad behavior. There was also a whiskey rebellion against that, and it didn't stamp it out, but it's clear that, the problem I think a government would be better if it taxed everything equally, as long as we're talking about activities or goods that consenting adults are freely choosing.
And researching this, you found there was a tax on importing slaves.
That's right. Yeah, it was an excise tax. I mean, just like there was on tea, and it's kind of disturbing that, colonial protesters protested taxes on teas, but not quite on slaves in the same way.
All right, moving to present day, after the Newtown tragedy, a Newtown lawmaker proposed a sin tax on violent video games.
Yeah. Even though there is absolutely no serious, research that shows that playing violent video games causes...
Not serious research. They play them much more in Japan, where there's less crime.
This again underscores the kind of scapegoating that goes on. When there's a problem, throw a law at it, throw a tax at it, and demonize, video gamers are, a demonized outgroup.
Colorado's all excited about the money they'll get from marijuana.
And this is, in a way, it's good, because that's the upside of sin taxes, is that cash-strapped governments everywhere, they always want more revenue, and suddenly they're willing to say something like, maybe it's not such a bad thing if adults can legally smoke pot instead of going on the black market. We'll tax it. People are happy to pay that tax, at least for a while, at a higher rate. I think it should be taxed at the same as any other good, as milk, essentially. But, that is one of the ways that sin taxes can be, I think, a powerful agent for liberalizing good policies.